Welcome to the Quick Stop F1 podcast. My name is Nyasha, and you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. We appreciate that. I'm here today. No Tandy, she's not here. And that, I think, just so you guys know, I'm going to prepare you, okay? Now we've gone weekly. Tandy will be here sometimes, but she'll always be here after a race review. But other than that, it might be me on my own, or I might have a guest, as I am joined by today, okay? Now, you might have seen me have a lovely interview on his channel very recently where, you know what, sometimes someone gives you a microphone, put it in front of your face, and you just talk at them for about an hour, and I think I spilt my guts over to this guy. But he's a fellow black F1 content creator. He does incredible videos looking at details or specific F1 things. He's got a lovely voice and a lovely face. It's man like Cameron. How's it going?
Appreciate it, sir. Glad to be here to talk some F1 with you today, man.
Hey, I'm happy for you to be here. I guess for those that don't know, right? How long have you been making F1
Oh,
content?
mate, as long as I've been alive, pretty much, which incidentally is a very long time. So I kicked off in earnest in 2015,
Oh
16,
wow. Okay.
and then took a break because I was lazy and
Yeah, no,
didn't
guess like
fancy being a consistent content creator, which of course is a prerequisite.
that.
And then kicked back off in Silverstone last year when it got a bit spicy
Wow.
and a bit
Okay.
interesting. So yeah,
That's
and
good.
what?
So this is interesting. So what's the difference for you between when you went on that break to now, I guess, or to to now.
Oh,
So
bro, you're
what are the
gonna out
main
me. You're gonna out me as a filthy casual, Nasha. So
never.
I'll be honest, bro. The reason why I watch F1 is for racing and
Mm.
automotive pugilism, as they
Oh,
call it. Right, I love a bit of
I
wheel
like
to
that.
wheel combat, and when
Of
that's
course.
not in F1, I kind of tend to dial out. So during
Okay.
the Schumacher years, the prime Mercedes years, when you kind of know who's going to win before the race even kicks off, I'll
Mm.
I'll, I'll dial out a little bit, Nasher, if I'm honest with you. So when it got
Okay.
spicy and competitive last year
Yeah.
between Lewis's Mercedes and the Red Bull of Mr. Verstappen, all of a
Mm.
sudden I was super dialed in. So that's just me confessing to be a bit of a casual.
No. And look, the thing is, we all get into it or coming out of it for our own reasons, right? Like I was
Mm.
saying to you on your channel, which we'll link in the description below. Make sure you go check it out. That I think my relationship with F1 changed in in a different way, I guess, in around 2019, and that's
Absolutely.
when I probably became what I would describe now as this kind of diehard follower of the sport. But before then, I was watching races, as pretty casually, to be honest.
Sporadically. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And so, we all get into it for our own kind of reasons. But if there's ever a reason to start watching a Formula One season, I
Oh,
mean, last season was 100%
let's
it.
go.
Um, so look, as a content creator, what was it like then? I guess getting back into it. The landscape has changed, right?
Mate,
So
just a bit.
so what would count as engagement or typical engagement or typical comments in whenever you were when you started, let's say when you started in
Mm.
2015, 16, I can imagine it pretty different to what they are now.
Just a little bit. It
Uh,
feels to your question, Nasha, that it was less toxic back in the day.
yeah,
Um, but I'm not gonna. I can't lie to you, Nasha. I didn't pay attention to all the analytics and retention stuff back in the day. I was very much just. It
yeah,
was me and two of my boys
for the love of it.
arguing back and forth whether Vettel was better than Lewis, right? Because we were having those conversations
Yeah,
anyway. So we thought, let's
yeah,
just put it on wax and make it public because we found them
nice.
entertaining and we hoped that Joe
And
Public would.
yeah, and that's and now that toxicity is it's a madness.
Nasha, tell me the truth. Don't you sometimes want to hang up your mic at the behest of said toxicity?
I'll
Be
be
honest.
honest. I'll be honest. When did it happen? So when we posted the race review You know what it was, yeah? It was the little fan cam edit we did for the Australian Grand Prix recently, right? And in that video, we just made fun of Nicholas Latifi. We made fun of Lance Stroll. It wasn't even the worst of those fan cams. You know, we've done fan cams of those little edits of each show, and we've said replacing Team LH with the N word, and like we've said some stuff. Like, do you mean like we've said some? Yeah, we've said some stuff. We're like, oh, this should probably annoy some people, but like we just got so much abuse for it. You know, like post on Twitter, yeah, we're used to getting quite a lot of positive feedback, and I think we've got to the point now where even the people that don't like us on Twitter, I think they just block us now. Sometimes I will go, people will be talking to people, and like at least 5 times a day, I'll go on something and be like, oh, I can't view this. Oh, is this person on a private account? Oh no, they blocked us, and that's fine. And I would rather block us and you don't see us than see us, get annoyed by us, and then whatever. On Instagram, I don't think we're definitely not as much of, I guess, a prominent name. So we're getting the same stuff that we were getting when we first started, of people just abusing us, getting sent the N-word, getting and you know what? I'll be honest. I didn't post our last I didn't post the episode I did on my own to Instagram. And
for fear of reprisal.
I just it's just not, I don't like being in places where, I talked to you about this on your thing when I was talking about when I did stand-up comedy, and I remember doing stand-up comedy to people who just weren't, people who would ever understand where I'm coming from. And I was like, I had that same feeling. I was like, why would I bother posting it today? We've already got our fans on Twitter. We've got our, people are subscribed. Why do I have to do this? Why, like, I shouldn't put myself through this. But you know what? You can't let that stop you.
I was just about to say, mate, self-censorship is harmful for your mental health, mate.
Yeah,
you can't be whistling Vivaldi 24/7. You wanna be yourself, right? Peel back those layers and then broadcast yourself on IG or Twitter, wherever that may be. I think that's quite sad. Nyasha, you're tearing me up before we got into that F1 chat.
No, you know what it was? It was just, and then someone commented, I can't remember who commented, someone commented on one of our posts like, oh, when's the new podcast episode out? And I was like, oh man, like, so there are people on there probably relying on that as like a source of and I'm like just ignoring them. So look, all our IG followers, I love you, thank you, you guys are great, you're always supportive. The rapscallions around you are the ones that I cannot stand. But no, look, the toxicity it does get to us sometimes. 2022. Before we get into the Miami Grand Prix, which is coming up, and I do want to talk about various parts of that, but let's do a quick thing of winners and losers, right?
Go for it.
So we're going to do one each, and letting you know, guys, I've given Cameron absolutely no time to prepare for this. I've absolutely just slapped this up. In fact, I tried to tell them this earlier, and then my internet cut out, and then my computer turned off, and then we're now talking 20 minutes later. So Lewis and the top 3 teams aside, right? And I think we'll talk about those separately in a bit. But the top 3 teams aside, who for you is a winner in terms of, I guess, best, most improved, or hit expectations, or doing well in a bad situation? Who for you, I guess, outside of, I guess, Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, who has caught your eye? This can be a team, this can be a driver, this can be a circuit, media, whatever you want.
Fair. So I think ostensibly Mr. Albon has to get a shout out. Not least for the epic 57-lap drive around Australia and doing a cheeky sim race one where he's pitted on the last lap. Very cheeky, but again, if the game is broken, then you can take advantage of that. I think Yuki Tsunoda in spells has looked quite racy, and again, he's fulfilling his potential for me. Biggest losers, Nyasha, mate, Nicholas Latifi. I feel like I'm punching down though, Nyasha, by citing
Yeah,
him.
oh yeah, yeah. Latifi,
Low hanging fruit, mate.
it's
Keep it on the black stuff though, Nyasha, at least, mate.
no,
Surely.
and this is it. And look, I think he was okay in Imola. Was the last race? Was
In a
he
race,
Yeah,
but
in the
he
race?
stacked it in FP1. What's he playing at? He's a
He
joker.
did. He did. Oh my god, Nicholas. I mean, it's just every week I feel like I'm tweeting out. I know that ain't who I think it is, but it's who I think it
The
is.
train is never late, Nyasha. That train is never late. Keep it on the
Oh
black
my
stuff,
god.
mate. Especially as a pay driver. You know when you're a pay driver, Nyasha, and you just want
Yeah.
to don't exacerbate the myth that pay drivers can't drive.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he's doing at the moment. He's got one job, mate. Keep it on the black stuff
Yeah.
for now.
And it's the thing is with Latifi, you know it's bad when one, you know, you spent 2 years being dusted up and down by George Russell, and but then you know I think people are willing to give him some leeway on that. They're willing to say, okay, you know what? Look where George has just gone. Potentially, that's how good George is.
Yeah, exactly.
What can you do now against Albon? And the fact that I mean, look, some of the qualifying times we're looking at Mazepin to Schumacher differences here. And obviously, sometimes he's not managed to get a second run because, well, we all know what's happened. But, you know, it's so bad that we're in race 4 and already we're pretty much aware that Williams are looking at replacing you next season. It doesn't matter how much money you're bringing when they're spending it all on your repairs. I mean, what are we doing here? It's really disappointing. I'm so disappointed in him. I feel like an African parent right now. Like I'm so disappointed.
Latifi has to take 2 seats, big man. Unfortunately, F1 is still something of a meritocracy, right? Even with all the money, if you can't even keep it on the black stuff, very basic hygiene factors here, Nyasha. Keep it on the black stuff, and then everything else from then is a positive. And he can't do that, mate. And it's not good enough, sir.
It's not good. You did mention earlier. You mentioned Yuki, but we also just talking about Albon just briefly. How good is Alex Albon?
Oh,
like, you know, because I always knew he was going to dust Latifi, right? But I also, what I really wanted was for him, after the Red Bull season, was for him to go back into AlphaTauri, and I really wanted to see that matchup between him and Gasly.
It's a shout. To
see what could have happened if they were both in the same car. What is the level of either of these two drivers? You know, because it's always a bit hard, right? You know, he had opportunities in Red Bull. He could have won at least one race. Unfortunately, you know, the 2 incidents of Lewis Hamilton having contact with someone seemed to be Alex. You know, he did get a couple of podiums, but how good is Alex Albon? I guess let's say Alex Albon does well this season, which we all know he's going to, and it's going to be a redemption season, or you know, we can already feel it. Do you think? I mean, Sergio's doing well enough in that second seat. Where is there to kind of go for Alex, or do you think it's? Do you think, you know, I guess build with Williams and just kind of make a home for yourself there, or I don't know.
I think that final point is the salient one there, Nyasha, for me. That and to your second, how good is Alex Albon? I would counter not good enough to be second driver to Max Verstappen in that Red Bull. That's my gut instinct as at April or May even 2020. I think he, you know, when Max first jumped on the scene, he was 17 years old, full of piss and vinegar, lots of mistakes, would never ever hesitate to pull the trigger on a very risky dive bomb. Ergo ended up in a lot of incidents. I feel like Alex has still got that tendency in him, and we saw it earlier in the season, right? In fact, was in the last race where he tried to get the inside of somebody and he came together.
I can't remember.
I feel like it was the last race where he had a cheeky entanglement with somebody, and he's still Nyasha. For me, lots of talent there, but he's still got that tendency to be a bit just a tad rogue, which concerns me. So,
Yeah.
so if I'm gonna put him in the pecking order, I think you've got
Yeah.
your Landos, your Charles, your
Yeah.
Maxes, your Lewises, of course, and then a step down from those guys would
Right.
be
Okay.
on the next rung.
Okay.
I think
Hold
you
on.
got
Sorry.
Alex.
I've just noticed that you put the Landos and your Charles and then you said Lewis as well. So is that in the same bracket?
Negative, no negative.
Okay. Cool.
Forgive my misstep.
Okay.
Forgive my
No, that's fine.
misstep.
That's fine.
Lewis,
That's
of
fine.
course, is the no Lewis. Lewis is a step above the rest of them. You know.
No, for sure. Whilst we're on it,
Hmm.
actually.
Oh, don't do it.
No,
Nyasha.
no, not at all. One thing I think I just wanted to talk about. It's just come to my mind now.
Go.
What happens to Pierre Gasly at the end of this season?
Oh,
Because he's outgrown the metaphorical training wheels of the Alpha Tauri.
it's a good shout.
I think they said they've got him potentially on a contract until next year. You know, I mean, there are some pretty feisty Red Bull juniors in F2. You've got Lawson, you've got Vips, and I think there's someone else as well who's actually quite good. Obviously, you've got Yuki, who at this moment, I love this guy, and I'm so happy you mentioned him because it's almost as if people aren't allowed to have rookie seasons anymore, right? Like, unless, like, I think people expect people like someone to come onto the scene like Lewis,
or
like Vettel, or
not
like
fair.
Charles. Even let's look at Charles. Or look, you know, yeah, I just, you know, there's those are special. A rookie, and now we have, you know, limited testing time. You know, limited preseason testing. You know, you have practice sessions are smaller now as well.
Absolutely.
The amount of time someone has to get from F2 to F1 is like minimal.
Absolutely.
So of course there's going to be incidents, there's going to be spins, there's going to be whatever. You know, we need to give these people, you know, I guess a bit of width to be able to make mistakes. And I think with Yuki, I don't think he got that last season, and I think there was a lot of things mired in his personality. You know, and look, we watched him Drive to Survive, and it was very well documented. I think Yuki came in, thought it was the dog's bollocks, realized that, oh, okay, I'm going to have to start going to the gym. I'm going to have to be in a simulator. I'm going to have to be living like an F1 driver. And I think maybe we're seeing the benefits of that now. But I think he's an incredible talent.
I think he's an incredible talent as well, brother. And I feel like, ironically, since we just spoke to him, Alex Albon's stewardship and mentorship has seemingly helped Fella a lot. Also worthy of note that he's one of the lightest drivers on the grid at 54 kilos, so he's got that in his advantage. Yeah, I'm expecting big things from Yuki. And to your Gasly point, mate, can I just what? Nyasha. I don't know, brother. I'm not.
You're not sure?
Second driver in that Red Bull next to Max Verstappen. Is that Pierre really? I think if I'm Christian Horner now, I'd rather stick with Checo than take another gamble and go back to a guy again. Didn't get given the longest or best of chances. Was a bit young, a bit raw, and a bit fresh. But if I'm looking at Checo, I think he's the perfect foil to Max Verstappen, right? Yeah. He's not going to rock the boat too much. Bottas, but fiery with a bit of racecraft. That's exactly what Checo is. So I wouldn't rock the boat necessarily if I was Christian. I don't know where Gasly's going to go, mate.
Look, I'll tell you one of my losers. And I think that maybe point to it there. Because for me, I think it's clear now that Daniel Ricciardo is never, ever going to be Lando one-on-one in over the course of a season. It's not happening. And I get it.
Yeah.
He had COVID. He missed some things. Okay. But the story of Daniel Ricciardo is a cautionary tale, I think, for a lot of people. Sometimes you might think you're the guy.
Oh.
You're not that guy.
Oh.
Okay. And for me, someone who openly says they don't really care for the technical side of F1. Don't really care for like engineering. Don't really go. You're getting dusted by someone half your age.
Oh,
It is a shame, but I personally, well, I reckon it could have happened at the end of this season, but I reckon, honestly, I reckon we're on the Daniel Ricciardo farewell tour now. I think.
go easy on them, Nyasha. Say how
I,
you really
you
feel,
know,
mate.
I just, you know, because I used to love Ricciardo. You know, yeah, when Ricciardo was in that Red Bull, that 2018 season,
Sick,
hey,
incredible.
that first 5-6 race period.
Dobbed up Seb Vettel.
Mate. Yeah. So that was 2014. Yeah, he like Dustin Vettel, how he was on those breaks, his whole personality. You know, he is when he's on it, he's an incredible character. But you can't look. It's been a year now. He cannot keep blaming this McLaren for being a weird car to drive, man. Like, and so that was last year. Like, what is it this year? Like, and for me, I think that McLaren seat, if it ever comes available, could be Gasly's. I also think someone else is on a farewell tour. I'm not
Go
going to
on,
say he's a loser for this season because I think the car is. I will say that the team are a loser for this season.
Mr. Sebastian.
It's Aston Martin. And
How
I'm not even going
dare you, Nyasha, the blasphemy. Blasphemy.
I'm not going to stick it on. Although double points finish in Imola. So I am not as much. And I know we've got a couple of listeners who are Seb Vettel fans. So I will say there's a double points finish and they did really well in Imola. That's a good upward trend. But it was very disappointing before that. And I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know if Seb. You know what? I feel bad for saying this now, but I just think there's a seat there. I think there's a seat there if Seb was to decide at the end of the season, you know what? I don't know if I've got the legs for this project. And that could be a seat for him. But those are the only two seats I can see Gasly going to. Like, where else can he go? Like,
I have no idea with Gasly, mate. But before you bury the lead on Seb Vettel, I think we need to put some respect on his name. Immense drive around Imola.
Yeah, it was an immense drive. It was a good drive.
Lest we forget, 4-time world champion. Some of the wickedest performances between 2010 and 14, if those were the years. And plus, the rumor mill is talking more about Seb Vettel in the second Red Bull car, right? So, mate, what do you tell me about? Have you heard about that? I know I can't see it. It sounds like it needs a cheeky fact check, right? That does need a fact check.
Is that what they're saying?
That's what I'm reading. That's
well,
exactly
I do know that obviously there was rumors of them looking to replace Alex Albon with Sebastian Vettel. There's a bit on Drive to Survive where Christian says when Vettel gets fired from Ferrari and he's like, why don't you wait a year, then come home or something along those lines. So, you know, I think if Checo had failed,
yeah, agreed. Much more likely.
But look, I'm not going to disrespect Checo Perez right now because
mate,
it was a safety car away from potential victory in Saudi Arabia. His qualifying is better. I think Imola, it wasn't. Oh I can't remember. But his qualifying is better. He's closer to Verstappen, if not ahead of Verstappen. And you know his racecraft is good now, and also I think that Red Bull is an absolute rocket. So
just a little bit, mate.
So I think it's enabling him to drive well, and it's even if he does have a bad qualifying, he can kind of make it up, and he's passing. Whenever he's behind a Mercedes, I think before last season I would have been like, okay, maybe we'll be able to keep him behind, but they're absolutely ravaging Mercedes, and it's very ominous.
I would say to Checo very quickly that I mean, this is only the second time in the years that he's been at Red Bull this year that he managed to out qualify Max Verstappen. So I think that set up the handling dynamic of that Red Bull speaks more to Checo's strengths.
Yeah.
But that notwithstanding, Nyasha, let's not go on like he's got pace for Max Verstappen. I don't think, not in long form over the course of the season. And
but
that's
like
the
you
issue.
said, but like
Second
you
driver.
yeah, second. He is a perfect second.
Yeah.
Like I say, Bottas with some balls, basically,
Nailed
and
it.
I think, yeah, I think that Red Bull seat's tied up for the next 2 seasons, at least. Now, there's no reason for Sergio Perez to want to retire. There's no, he's still like he's 30, 31, I think. So,
Young man.
so he's not like he's been around for ages because he came in as the next big thing, and he's just had a long career. But he was it Hamilton's replacement at McLaren, which I guess
Yeah.
which
Jeez.
gives
Another
you
case of too much too soon from Sergio Perez, now 32 years old, by the way.
32.
Yeah.
32 is fine. I mean, Lewis is 36. I think
37, mate.
37. I think Vettel's 36. Alonso's 40. So, or is he 40? Yeah, I think he's 40. But so yeah, look, what need is it? If he's in the championship winning car and he's probably going to help them towards a constructor's title, they've got no need to change him unless they can get one of their, I think, but they need to start making space in AlphaTauri because they've got these junior drivers. Gasly is no longer a junior driver. He's going to want to go somewhere. I think that AlphaTauri seat is something that is going to be of interest, but we'll see. It's going to be interesting. There's some pieces. There's not a lot of drives going next year. Williams, I can see. Haas, I guess, maybe if they want to replace Magnussen, but he's doing well.
Magnussen, how dare you, Nyasha?
He's one of the winners.
Mate, he's not to be replaced at the moment. If Mick moves on to somewhere, then obviously you've got to.
Where's Mick gonna go?
Mate, everybody's chomping at the bit to see him in the red car, Ray. But I think it's a bit too soon.
Too much too soon. Hey, talk about keep it on the black stuff. Look, look, a conversation one day will be had about Mick Schumacher.
I'm
not gonna have it, right? I'm not gonna have it. 2 drivers on the grid with no points. Okay. Both of them can't keep on the black stuff. So all I'm saying, but I think with Mick, there's a prevailing theory that, I mean, look, he had a bad car last year, and there were crashes last year. But what could he have learned really from last year and that car and so forth? So, this is maybe his debut season. Let's look at it. Let's give him a season to bet in, but the calls for him to go to Ferrari are way too soon. So, look, let's leave that. Look, let's talk about Mercedes. You've got the Mercedes cap on. You know what? I wasn't going to, and then I got offered some wine, and I said, you know what? I'm going to be talking about Mercedes.
Oh dear!
I'm going to need it. On a scale of 1 to shit, how bad has this season been?
Bruv, I don't want to do the troops thing, Nyasha, I'll be honest with you. I don't want to be the embodiment of toxicity and start talking about I'm going to back out the banner. Nyasha, I'm really close.
You're close to it.
I'm really close. Like, let's say to your scale.
Yeah.
This is a 4 at the moment. As far as how I'm reading it, there's lots. There's lots that need sorting out. No longer is it just the development of the car, the porpoising issue that they need to sort out without sacrificing too much performance and ride height. It's the strategy. It's the pit stops times. We've seen it at Imola. They messed up again. Pit the dude on lap 17. You had perfect information with Danny Rick smashing it on the slicks, whereas he was 4 seconds a lap slower than Max Verstappen. Pit him now. I don't want to hear anything from Andrew Shovlin telling me about it was a risk. It wasn't a risk.
No, you know what it is as well. Cameron, Lewis does not trust that pit wall. Okay,
Why would he, though, Nyasha?
Yeah, no,
At
why
this
would
stage?
he? No, why would he? But that is a fundamental lack of trust. And the thing is, you know what? I don't know if you remember these times, but when Seb Vettel was going for the title, Ferrari was such a mess that he was almost calling stuff from the car, and he was calling strategy from the car. And sometimes it would go well, and sometimes it would not go well because he was calling strategy from the car. Now, Lewis Hamilton is the greatest driver of all time. He has had some phenomenal strategy calls. You know, I can talk about loads of Turkey, for example. But there's also been strategy calls which have not gone well because Lewis is not trustful, and of course is going to exercise a degree of caution, right? But we don't have time for caution right now. We don't. The time for caution went when we realized that car was twerking up and down pit straights all over the world.
Yeah.
International playgirl, bless her. Okay, like, but there needs to be team meetings. That pit will need to say, Lewis, we're gonna call aggressive strategies now, okay? Because it was clear we should have been out on slicks before Ricciardo. It was a time for slicks. Everyone was shitting themselves. We should have been out on them sticks so much earlier. And you know what? What's the loss? We're in 13th for God. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
holy smoke! It's ridiculous,
like, what is the loss here? What I mean, I think maybe we're in the points, but then we were
11th.
11th. We're 11th. Sorry, thank you. So we're not even in the points, right? What do we have to lose? Let's get this guy on some dry tires. But the problem is as well, look, who knows? Maybe we would have gone out on those tires. The tire warm-up could have been crazy. Maybe it wouldn't have worked. But I mean, the difference, I mean, if Daniel Ricciardo's managed to heat his tires up, then God damn. Of course we can.
In Mercedes' defense, Andrew Shovelin on the Mercedes AMG Petronas YouTube channel said that with the benefit of hindsight, they would have, but they're wary of the difficulty Lewis has in that car of getting those tires to the optimal window. BS though, Nyasha. I'm not buying it. I wanted to test it out real time, Nyasha, because you can't. Hindsight is always 2020. So
of course.
Bro, I did a video on the channel where
Go and watch that.
I looked at the information, all of the deltas in real time, and it was obvious, Nyasha.
Yeah.
Danny Rick 4 seconds a lap slower than Max Verstappen before the pits on Inters. As soon as he came out, he was gapping Max Verstappen, who incidentally was about to lap him. That tells you all you need to know. I get for Mercedes. I'll play devil's advocate slightly here.
Yeah.
If Lewis Hamilton, of all those drivers on the grid, says it's too early for slicks,
of course,
Reagan Meister, Lewis Hamilton, you got to listen to him, right?
Of course.
But there comes a point when you have perfect information in front of you, Nyasha, and that's carte blanche. You need to make an executive decision because Lewis doesn't have access.
He doesn't have it.
If he had, he would have pitted.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And it's even about saying, hey, and this is what I mean about communication. It's about, okay, Lewis, we've just seen Ricciardo's going 4 seconds a lap quicker. We're going to bring you in. That's going to help. And this is the thing. They're not giving him enough information. I've been saying this.
Nyasha, no, you go. Finish off your thing.
I've been saying this. I was saying last season, there were so many points where Bono, bless him, they've got a great relationship, right? But Bono would, like, Russia is a great fucking example of when Bono was giving Lewis information about like the weather and so forth, and it was like Lewis was like, I think when they pitted him first time, and then he was like, "Oh, yeah, have I come out in 5th place?" And they're like, "Yeah, you have." And he's like, why have I come out in 5th place? So he doesn't even know where he's feeding out. He doesn't know, like, he's just having to find things out in real time. And it's like, yes, he is great. Yes, he can handle, but like, And of course, I guess no, you don't want to give everyone loads of information over the radio, but we can all if PDR is telling me that Ricardo is starting to gap Verstappen, then surely everyone fucking knows that. It's not just me. It's not secret information.
I mean, Nyasha, do we want him? Why don't we make Lewis jump out the car and put his own wheels on at the pit stops as well?
Oh.
Why don't we let him refuel? Like, what more do you want from the dude? And I get there's a brilliant article on motorsport.com where I want to say Gary Allen talks about the different problems that these teams have with strategy, right? And
Yeah.
Lewis is very sensitive and emotive, and he kind of he talks a lot about the feel of the car. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Whereas Max Verstappen is going to be like, right, slicks, almost like military precision type.
Yeah.
And I think as I'm reading it, that causes a little bit of an issue for the likes of Andrew and Bono, because they need to appease Lewis in the car and keep him happy, in addition to making the right decision. And those aren't always that sometimes they don't exist in the same space, right? So I get that they have an issue in that sense, but nevertheless, I wouldn't apply that to Imola as an isolated instance. Not to mention, by the way, Nyasha, how about France last year? How about Monaco last year? How about Hungary, where we've got Lewis Hamilton on his ones on the restart? How about Australia with the power unit? How about Saudi with the bloody Danny Rick parked outside? It's becoming a pattern of behaviour now, Nyasha, and it's a bit.
Cameron, look, you talked to me about my F1 knowledge. You're such a oh my god. No, you're right though, right? Like, bro,
it's a lot, bro.
It's a lot. I remember, like, and you mentioned France, yeah, and a lot of Max Verstappen fans love France, and they like France is one of Max's best victories, and I always say,
Red Bull
smashed that, but Mercedes absolutely dropped the ball that race. I will go through my tweets now, and I was like, James Fowles, you absolutely it was. I think they kept him out for 2 laps longer. The undercut was so much obvious, and it's just like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? And this is a continuing feeling. Look, the pit stops have got to change. Like, I don't know what they're doing now. Change it. Like,
I was going to say, bro, the take on Mercedes is that they and you can kind of see, Christian Horner talks about Toto Wolff, that he's a finance guy, and then they pan to the FT on Toto Wolff's private jet. You can kind of see in the demeanor, the crumbs that we get from these guys is that they are quite high and mighty, very about the sports etiquette. Whereas you see Red Bull and Christian Horner, the quote that he come out with at the very start was, if you want to really win, you're going to do anything to get that win. And that's the way that Red Bull operate. They don't hesitate to play the joker, whereas Mercedes, Nash, it feels like they've got a playbook. They've done all the analysis and the scenario testing before the Grand Prix, and they don't work in this real time, right?
We're doing shit on paper. We're doing shit on fucking paper. And the real time, the stuff is in front of our eyes, right? and these men are just there on paper. Like, I'm not sure about it. And it's just like, bro, the fucking data is there. I can see it. I can see it. Oh, that's what the undercut's doing. Let's do it. Hey, Monaco, I can see what the overcut's doing. Let's do that. But instead, we're trying to undercut in Monaco.
Yeah.
And it's just like, honestly,
take your heads above the parapet,
and
have a look outside, have a look over the pit lane to see what's actually going on, sack off all this Excel spreadsheet and data analysis, or better still, use the combination of the both of them and a bit of common sense, because that's not what they're doing at the moment, Nyasha. But again, I said it wasn't going to be troops.
Look
nicely into it.
I think it's got to be said, bro, because for me, let me ask you a question.
Go.
We've got we've still got 19 races this year. Jesus.
Oh, mate.
it's May. And this season finishes in 5 months. 6 months, sorry. So let me ask you a question. I don't know how to phrase this without, I don't want to lead it. So I'm going to ask you, do you think that the Mercedes, no, by the time Mercedes sort their car out, is it going to be too late for them to be a title challenger this season?
Mate, it's looking that way, Nyasha.
Yeah.
Certainly, they are. I suppose the only way that I'd gauge it, if I put my accountancy cap on, is by how far off the pace they are now. And
Yeah.
depending on which Grand Prix you're looking at over the ones that we've had already season to date, we're anywhere between a second and a second and a half, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is a lot, Nyasha. You know that a tenth in
Crazy.
F1 is miles, let alone a second and a half. I would say, however, that the thing that gives me a bit of hope, a bit of optimism, the rumor mill says that if they can nail this porpoising issue, and again, I'm citing Bryson Sullivan, who's technical expert
Oh,
extraordinaire,
friend of the
knows
show for
mate,
sure.
needs to get hired by Mercedes now.
I mean, like even like just like 100%. Like, and he needs to be
Hire
hired
that
for
man.
someone. Like
Hire that man.
hire that
Consultancy
guy.
role, something,
Yeah,
Nyasha.
like I mean,
But if we're to listen to him, Nyasha, he says that the reason why you have such a vicious porpoising issue is because the car, the package, the
it's
downforce.
doing the job, right? It's doing the job. It's creating so much downforce that it's creating that issue.
There you go. So if they can solve the pinch point that is their porpoising on that W13 design, then hopefully that car will be in and around the front. So that
and look, we've seen the McLaren go from back of the grid to, fourth quickest car, I guess. I mean, you look at what Lando Norris is doing in that car.
I think the McLaren thing, Nyasha, a lot of that is that those tracks, Australia and Imola, speak to their package. Lando Norris has said it already he said it around Australia. We haven't brought any upgrades. What's happened is that Australia, Albert Park speaks to our package. So I don't know whether they've done something between Australia and Imola necessarily.
Well, and look, for me, like you say, look, the Ferrari still has a lot of porpoising, right? But they're able to, I think what we were saying on commentary is that when it gets into the braking zone, they're still able to apply the brakes when they want, and there's that confidence in the brakes. Whereas with the Mercedes, there isn't that, right? And we shouldn't have that. I think encouraging signs is that race pace, we're solidly third fastest team. Despite everything, we're still, I think we can still make it, on at a track where you can overtake. I think, let's say if Lewis was 13th in Bahrain, I think he would have come through the grid, or 13th in Jeddah, he would have come through the grid. But Imola, in those conditions, with one DRS zone.
Oh my gosh!
And
DRS train.
Yeah,
outrageous.
I don't like Imola. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've never liked Imola. I didn't like it before. I don't know why suddenly there was a massive clamoring for it to come back. I understand now we've got Ferrari tax. They're good again. Like we need to have more races. I just tried to get Monza tickets. Them shit sold out in like fucking 1 minute. Like it's impossible. But awful track. But I think on tracks where we can overtake, I think Lewis would have gone through that pack. I'm encouraged that on race pace they could potentially, whilst not being quick enough over one lap, I think that the ability to qualify between 4th and 6th, touch wood, and then with the ability to then again, massive strategy, touch wood again, strategy calls, and maybe go from there. Possibly there's the potential to be flying the ointment. Look, on the evidence that we have, Red Bull is unreliable. That's all we like. Okay, maybe those were the only 2 retirements they're going to have the whole season. But 50% of races Verstappen hasn't finished, right? I think Checo's not finished one race. Charles Leclerc still has the bozo gene in him.
I love that. I love that you call it that.
Like it's like it is within him. Like we have seen it from his days in the Sauber. First season of Ferrari, second season of Ferrari, like we have seen it throughout.
Imola, all of them.
All of them.
Ridiculous.
He cannot help himself. Monaco. Like he just cannot help himself. He always wants a bit more. And sometimes
that was really bad, that last race. There was no need. Again, do a risk management couch, surely, Charles.
Yeah.
What have you got to gain?
No,
what have you got to gain?
No, nothing. Nothing.
Out, mate. Jeez.
So I think they can do it. I think they'll be able to do it.
I want to ask you a question, Nyasha, if I may.
You can't help yourself.
If I can't help myself, mate, if I can steal. I've been reading a lot on Reddit and F1 social media, Twitter in particular, about George Russell now being the guy to beat in that Mercedes car. Talk to me about that and condemn these Lewis Hamilton naysayers for me, please, for their short-termism and their uneducated opinions, because it's ridiculous, brother. Talk to me about that, Nyasha.
I love it. Look, I said at the start of the season, the thing with George is that we're not looking at George versus Lewis in the purest sense of driver versus driver. You know, we're looking at George as an instrument to belittle Lewis and diminish Lewis, and that's what we're seeing right now. You know, and that's what happens. Look, in any sport, right? If I want to slander someone, I'll take all context out. Hey, Seb Vettel shit. Fuck it. I can say that. right? There you go. Oh, Seb Vettel hasn't won a title for 9 years. He's awful. But there's some context to that, right?
Nailed it.
There's thing you can't just actually he has 4. So what do you mean? He actually won 4 in a row in the 4 years preceding that stat. So, you know, I can slander someone as much as I want. And look, we have literally made a living out of I've got to think what I would have sneezed, but I don't. Sorry. Oh god, we have made a living out of slandering drivers, okay, and we've made a living out of agendas and whatever. But what the bad thing about it with George is that it's insidious. The way that people are using George to belittle Hamilton. And at the end of the day, no one with sense is going to pay that any mind. The problem is, I was disgusted. You know, I know we mentioned this in the last podcast. I was disgusted with Sky. And look,
Talk to me, Nyasha. Talk to them.
I couldn't really last week. I'm not gonna lie to you. I wasn't in. You know, it was just I wasn't really in like a great place to talk about F1. But what Sky did last week was very poisonous, because the problem with Sky is they set the narrative, right? They set the narrative because everyone watches that. Casuals watch that. Journalists watch that. Pick up on what they're saying, and that's what's being said. So now, instead of what is a great stat of George is the only driver to finish in the top 5 every race. Congratulations, George. You're having a good season. It's George is already you've got salty Nico Rosberg on there. Hey, Nico Rosberg. Let me tell you right now, yeah. No, I'm pissed off. I'm fucking pissed off. I'm not having it. Nico Rosberg, yeah, you're more famous for being Lewis Hamilton's teammate than you are for being world champion. Like, people bring you on and you come on with your linen trousers and how you can sit there. Lewis Hamilton is at the Met Gala tonight, okay? At the time of this recording, we still don't know what fire Lewis Hamilton is going to wear to the Met Gala. That's the place. Lewis Hamilton is a pop icon. It was on Good Morning America. He's on American talk shows. He's got his own fashion line. He's a 7-time world champion. Should have been 8. Nico Rosberg, you are a inconsistent YouTuber. I'm sick of this shit.
I'm
sick of this shit. because you spent all weekend. We get it. You're the guy. You're an instigator. You're the guy. You're there to rile the net up. But as an F1 driver who had to sacrifice his whole life for a year, not tend to his newborn baby for a whole year, live in hotel rooms for a whole year, just so I don't know what kind of money ritual you were doing in that hotel room for Lewis's engine to go bang in Malaysia that handed you that title. Did you remember Brazil 2016, where Nico Rosberg was physically scared of Max Verstappen? A teenage Max Verstappen, or early 20s Max Verstappen, bullying this guy up and down into Lagos during a title fight. I hate this guy so much. And for him to wonder why Lewis doesn't want him anywhere near him, and then you go on Sky Sports and you're like, "Hey George, you've been battering Lewis all weekend. I mean, what is that dominating? What is that like?" And thank God for PR63, bro. Like George knows. George knows. Okay, this isn't what it's about. It's not about feeding into this and being like, "Oh well, look at the difference." Lando Norris, for example, like, got tired of the Daniel Ricciardo questions last year, and it started to come out. I don't give a fuck about this guy. This guy's, well, I'm beating him. Why should I feel sorry for him? George, it's about the team. It's not about my individual success right now. So, yeah, for me, I've gone on there, and that's a longer answer than I anticipated giving you. But for me, George is doing great, but they've got 2.5 kgs worth of sensors on Lewis's car. They're running alternate strategies and setups, and there's a lot of context behind that. The people who want to use George, Fireburn, all of them guys, to be honest, I've got no time for them. Cameron, quickly.
I need to. I really want to chime in on that. Let me name.
Chime in. I don't want to keep you. So
no, don't be daft. Don't be daft. Yeah. We go, man. We're talking F1.
Okay, cool.
Ad infinitum, Nyasha.
Okay, cool. Let's go. What are your thoughts on it?
So I agree with like 90% of what you said there. I will caveat. I really like Nico Rosberg as a commentator. I hated him as a driver, by the way, but I like the fact that he doesn't give an F, that he will dial into the Sky broadcast at him, like, because he's that guy. He's the most recent world champion. Even if he did that, he earned that through a lot of good fortune. However, Nyasha, here's where I'm going to agree with you, and I'm gonna deep dive Nico Rosberg. Lazy journalism on an internationally syndicated broadcast is not good enough, Nyasha. Domination. Here's what domination isn't. This is not what domination is.
Go.
Domination isn't gaining 3 places by good fortune, which, by the way, Lewis did also. Mick Schumacher, Danny Rick, and Alonso also dropped it off. And then nailing K-Mag when he doesn't have a toe. The other way, Lewis getting jumped by both Gasly and Albon in the pits and jumping him back into a DRS train around the narrowest track on the calendar in Imola, where you cannot overtake. Tell these storylines. Australia, power unit. Lewis Hamilton gaining a 10th a lap on George Russell, told to ease back by Mercedes because of the power unit nonsense. Saudi, Paddy pitted at the right time. Again, would have nailed George Russell. Nico Rosberg, it's your responsibility on an international syndicated broadcast to tell these stories with these details as colour, not to omit them for sensationalism. So I had to listen. I love Nico. You got to put some sniper scopes on somebody when they're not doing their job properly and being irresponsible with their journalism.
And I think what speaks to me there, irresponsible, right? It is. Look, we're talking about. I'm not saying we need to mollycoddle Lewis, right? He doesn't deserve to be. It's not about mollycoddling someone. It's not about wrapping someone's ego in cotton wool, which I think some people think Lewis fans want, and we don't want that. But it's about respect. It's about respect, and it's about realizing like the consequences of what you saying has, right? And we now have a situation where people who are just looking for any excuse to jump on Lewis are gonna do that, And we're going to races now. There's people taking the crying baby, picture,
Oh,
Photoshop
mate.
picture of him, which he's having to respond to, and he's doing love and light, but that shit is fucking bullshit, right? And we don't want a situation where we're disrespecting someone and disrespecting someone's craft for the sake of cheap views and storylines. Sky have a monopoly. There's no ratings war, right? We're gonna watch your shit whether we like it or not,
because we have to.
We have to. I've got no fucking choice. So if you're gonna do that, at least just report on shit accurately. There's casuals, like you said. I love that because, like you say, like, don't be lazy, Nico. You have the ability, and this is what sometimes when Nico's good, right? It's because he's saying the things that the other presenters don't want to say or don't have the ability to say. That's good, but he's become a caricature of himself, and for me, I thought that was some. I felt, he looked gleeful saying some of that shit. Like he was like, I felt like, when you dial into a Zoom call and it's like top half business, bottom half pleasure. Like I felt like he was like in his boxers with a stiffy on that sky. The look on his face. Look, no disrespect, but look, it's just not great. Not great.
That was his hot take, and I think more. I expect more of Nico Rosberg. He is ultimately 2016 drivers champion. He if there are caveats, shine a light on Nico Rosberg. I didn't hear him once talk about George Russell being able to start on the clean side of the grid. They've been cleaned by all the drivers in F2, hence why he was able to net himself an additional 2 places. Lewis obviously starting on the other side. Tell the colour of the story, Nico.
And this is a problem with Sky, right? Given all of the resources they have, all of the people that they have, what we get is very surface level stuff, right? And it's just like, that's why. And the thing is, that's why people love Ted Kravitz.
Oh, because he nails it.
He's like, do you mean not only is Ted says it how it is, by the way, right? But Ted Kravitz is giving us information that we would otherwise not get. The technical side of things, making it easier, breaking it down. This is an engineering formula. Talk to us like it is. These guys are like Talk Sport talking about Premier League, bruv. Like, this is not good enough for the pinnacle of motorsport media. And it's why, honestly, the more I look at Sky, just the more lack of respect I just have for them as a production company, because why aren't we getting information like that? I think I heard that on freaking Mr. Apex, to be honest, about the side of the grid and the people not getting it right. I heard that on an independent podcast. I'm not hearing it on Sky. So there's a reason why Jolyon Palmer got poached by F1. And we need more like that. And Sky need to look. It's not. Look, I love Naomi Schiff. It's not good enough just sticking Naomi Schiff in there and just saying, okay, look, we've jazzed it up now. And even
101.
And look, even I feel like Naomi. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. She's so beautiful. I am absolutely flabbergasted by how beautiful she is and talented as a presenter. She is a great presenter, but it feels like I know she's a Max fan, but either she feels like she has to have this narrative and she has to like kind of do the same shit that everyone else is doing and feed into this like negative Lewis narrative or like surface level rubbish, or she just is like that. And that's why they hired her. But for me, it's like we've got an opportunity here. Okay, we've got like a new presenter. Okay, it's a person of color. Could we, she's mixed race. Could we maybe get some balance to this broadcast? And we're not getting that. The only person we've got is Johnny Herbert.
Oh,
Bless his
mate,
soul.
Johnny, what a legend. How good would it have been, Nasha? Let's fantasize for a second. How
Go on,
good
then.
would it have been if Naomi, whilst Nico's dialed in via Zoom, had pushed back and said to him, well, listen, Nico, great point, well made. However, George Russell started on a clean side of the grid. Lewis got jumped by a dodgy pit decision where
Yeah,
Mercedes messed up the timing. And we're talking over the course of the season, Australia, like just nailed him with the counterpoints,
yeah.
mate. That, but I feel like they don't. I'm not sure whether it's willful negligence that they have that information and don't want to speak to it, or whether they just don't factor it in on their, but or don't even know it. Nasha, I'm not sure, big man.
Well, I think it's a factor of all three, and I think look at American. If you watch any like American sports, they have people with disagreeing viewpoints all the time, right? Like, but it just feels like and even in football, look at Sky Sports. Yeah, they'll get Jamie Carragher on and Roy Keane on,
Mm,
and Mika Richards, and they might not agree. Do I think Sky's punditry is the fucking upper echelon of football punditry? No,
not quite.
but let's get some differing opinions on. Why is it that I'm going to ask you? Why is it the format? I'm going to ask you a leading question, and you're going to give me the answer that I know that you're going to give me, and it's just like, hi, pundit, leading question, give me an answer. Yeah, for sure, that's the answer, and we're going to move on. And it's just like, why is there more introspection? Why is there more analysis on F1 Twitter and independent content creators than the biggest broadcaster in the world with all the information at hand, more than we have, with the ability to interview drivers and get it from the horse's mouth? But what we get is very narrative driven punditry. And that's great when you've got last season's title fight, right? But there's more. We've got a whole new formula this season, Cameron. There's intricacies. There's things that
Mm,
we need to, like, do you know what I mean? Factor in, and we're not getting that, and
not
it's really
getting it.
disappointing.
It's not good enough. And I tell you what's going to happen, Nasha. Two things. As the F1 populace, as the demographic knows, because you get how people are, right? The need for
Yeah,
information and technical nuance is far beyond anything that I crave.
yeah,
Bryson is looked at as like a demigod almost because he knows so
as
much,
he
right?
should
So
be. And it's not
banter.
even just because he knows; it's because his ability to break that down and
Communicate.
communicate that. Like, do you know what I mean?
Exactly. So those two things in a nutshell, I suppose they're case in point that the F1 demographic wants that sort of information. So as it becomes more popular and more people come on board F1 fandom, Sky F1 are going to have to step up their game. More give Ted Kravitz more airtime, surely.
Yeah.
Got to be done. And YouTube, by the way, is going to steal Sky's supper. That's my hot take because that's where you're going to get it. Tomo F1, Driver 61, all of the above are going to give you that detail that
Oh yeah.
Sky F1 aren't,
And
unfortunately.
I think let's talk about that. Let's just have
Mm,
a conversation. Let's
go.
talk about the future of, because we've got here now, right?
Mm,
Where do you see? Okay, I'm going to tell you my vision, right,
go.
of F1 content
Oof.
in like YouTube, right? So I think right now what we've got is the um we've got the format of we've got podcasts, obviously. I think the YouTube content is very much where people are able to get this technical knowledge, or these race debriefs, or these driver narrative videos with detailed information about past results, technical analysis on their driving capabilities backed up by proven points. But a lot of it is faceless, I would say, right? Or if it is face, um, it's interspersed. FOM don't let us use videos.
Mate.
All we can use is pictures, right? I think the way that it's going is going to be, I think that we're going to see a lot more studio led content. I think Veloce have already started to do it. I think if Tomo wanted to, he could probably go there. Other big accounts. I think the more Sky fail to really capture the imagination of the younger audience, and this is what I wanted to say on my Q&A, but I think I might have not been able to articulate it. I think there's just going to be independent F1 content houses making studio like content without F1 there, or studio, or even, dare I say it, at race content in real life streaming or whatever. Like, I think that's where we're going to go. I think, and because I just think I can just see Sky becoming not relevant if this level of punditry is, for me, it's only so much I'm going to pay Sky, to be honest.
Absolutely, bro.
And the only reason I pay for Sky is, honestly, I'm lazy.
Yes.
I'm so lazy. I don't want to find a stream. I don't want to like. I want to be able to record races on my TV. I want to be able to just. I want to watch any. They've got Formula One on 24. It's not even 24. The channel's not even 24/7.
What are they playing at, brother?
Oh my god! They didn't even start. So I can't just play me old races. How much? Like, do you know what I mean? Anyway, I just want to watch Formula One whenever I want. They've got old races on there sometimes. I'll watch it, whatever. I don't know if I even said anything there, but I guess for you, where do you see F1, independent F1 content? I guess, where can it go? What's the ceiling? That's the question. What's the ceiling for independent F1 content?
Mate, so we're seeing it already in transition, right? These guys are going to have to reach out to the likes of Tomo, Driver 61, Josh, if only because the quality of the content that these guys are putting out on a weekly basis is exponentially better than anything that you've seen from Sky Sports in recent years. Even if we do a cheeky thought experiment here, if you take as the best case, the best production that you've seen from Sky Sports in recent years, I think the duel that summarized the fight between Max and Lewis last year was an epic piece. It was an epic production, an epic piece that Sky.
I'm not gonna lie,
You didn't rate it?
No, I did actually. I had low expectations. But when I watched it, I mean, I was always going to be salty about it because of what the subject.
Tinged with pain. And absolutely, mate.
But as a product, I was like, you know what, you've done that really well.
Absolutely incredible. But I say that to say this, Nyasha. F-Loz by Danny Lozano on YouTube. He's done a piece where he's put together again a highlight reel, a story of last season. Blows duel out the water, big man.
Nice.
I'm telling you, YouTube is going to take these guys lunch, and you're already seeing it as they reach out to Tomo and start to work together and collaborate, because they need, at any given Monday, needs Tomo and it needs Josh.
Yeah,
because these guys are going to take their, and Driver 61. There's a.
Did you see them invite those two? I think they were TikTok on
Pit Stop. Pit Stop guys. They were the last race.
The ones who don't know anything.
Yeah, Pit Stop. They're called. I think.
Yeah. Hilarious. Everyone was like, God, look at these guys. And I was like, guys, look, like, have you seen their numbers?
Bonkers on Instagram.
Their numbers are fucking bonkers, bro. Like, and look, that's how they got there. That's their thing. Is that the kind of content I would make? No, but I'm not gonna hate on people making content and it banging and then reaping the rewards of that. Or they're not going to just say, oh, you know what, Sky, no, we're going to turn down paddock passes for this race. And
I'll never be an F1 snob. Everybody's journey, like you alluded to earlier, everybody's journey into it is different. But I think it's going to be an interesting. But and again, I suppose I spoke to Peter Windsor about this in my interview with him, and he said that it needs to be checked that the access. So the start of the drivers, right? The asset in F1 is the drivers, their ability to drive cars and their respective personalities.
Yeah.
We will never be able to interview Lewis Hamilton, Nyasha, and that needs to change, right?
Yeah.
Listen, do I want to see Naomi interview? Yeah, she's lovely and she's very good and she's a brilliant driver. But I would pay money to see Lewis Hamilton come on Quick Stop F1 and get interviewed by Nyasha and Tandy. Mate, it would be gold. It would just be, it would be gold and it would be brilliant. And I'm not the only one that would want to watch that. There are hundreds of thousands of people out there around the world, not just in the UK, by the way. South Africa is a massive demographic that's growing. The States is madness. Who would all pay good money, more than the monthly Sky Sports subscription, to see Tandy and Nyasha interview Lewis Hamilton. So that's where we're headed, big man. And the access needs to open up more with the FOM to the drivers if they harbour aspirations of taking F1 to the next level. I feel
that's fucking beautiful, and that's true. And I think, they've got to start. And I think content creators, if I can give any advice, just build the platform into as reputable and as big a platform as you can. But at the same time, F1, if F1 can understand that they need younger people, and Sky can understand they need younger people, then allow us more access. But allow us to use the fucking videos, man.
Like, isn't it?
Like, of course, look. If someone's banging an hour and a half race on YouTube,
well, then that's unreasonable.
Then fine, of course. But like fair usage, I just want to use a video of a car. Like I just want to use like a 4-second clip. Like, do you know what I mean? I want to be able to, like, do you know what I mean? How are you going to find commentators of the future? Like, if they can't, like, how are you going to find like presenters of the future if we can't use the videos? It's ridiculous. We could go on all day about that, honestly, but it's ridiculous. Look, quickly, Miami.
Oh.
I'm not gonna lie to you, Cameron. I've never been so not excited for it as I have. I couldn't give a fuck about it. Let me tell you that right now, yeah. And you know me, yeah. Look, this is a problem that's infiltrated my own personal relationships. Okay, I'm not a flash guy. I'm not a materialistic guy. Okay, these things are not interesting to me. People who are interested in that find that annoying, and sometimes that can lead to breakdowns. But it's not therapy. So, like, it's basically a fake Monaco, right? To the point where they've got the fake marina.
Oh my gosh!
We've seen the F1 mouthpieces come out. Hey, you guys don't understand? It's a fake marina, huh? Can't we? Oh, you're gonna be driving past a fake Eiffel Tower in Vegas next year, don't you know?
Oh my gosh!
Thank you, William, for that.
Yeah.
Appreciate that as always. Great insight. What are you saying, man?
Oh, bro, I think it would be a spectacle. And that in and of itself is a redeeming feature if you wanted one, right? I don't like the look of the track, but people are going for more of the spectacle than a diet. You're not going to get it's not going to be Silverstone last year as far as a race, but and I suppose another redeeming feature, we'll add this, Nyasha, if I may, that the area that's hosting the circuit or the Grand Prix even is a predominantly African American area, and so I suppose the tourism and the influx of money that's coming in on the back of a Grand Prix should, in theory, go towards decent businesses and causes and uplifting the community. So
it should, in theory. I did read a thread. I should have really got this guy on, but I just didn't have time to organize anything before today. There was a thread talking about, obviously a lot of the residents, because it's in the Miami Gardens area, and obviously a lot of the residents were like, not consulted on it, and
Oh, wow.
and they feel as if actually, because everything's quite contained in Miami Gardens and in this Hard Rock thing, how much are they going to get? There's going to be stuff going on all night within the circuit. So yeah, no. Oh, look, and maybe I'm going to try and get it for like a pre-show thing, because there was someone who did a thread on it, and I think Denz has spoken to him on his podcast, and I just think that I need more information before I make a decision, but it wouldn't surprise me if it wasn't to the benefit of the local residents. However, this race better look fucking spectacular. That's what I'm going to say. If it doesn't look like the most, what it's going to look like, it's going to look like the F1 version of Coachella, and for me, that's not like very appealing. But for a lot of people, that is quite cool. So we'll see. I was going to ask you for predictions, but no one knows what the fuck that. You can't really make predictions, really, can we? But
yeah, I'll give you a prediction.
Go on then.
Listen, not dissimilar to Naomi Schiff. I'm a big fan of Max, especially as a peddler, as a jockey, and I think he's in the ascendancy at the moment. Yeah. The rumor is that Ferrari are bringing more horsepower potentially to this Grand Prix, but that notwithstanding, mate, if Max has had his Weetabix on Sunday and puts it in a decent position on qualifying, I think he's got Charles de Manners already. And it will take for a Lewis Hamilton type, or not even a type, Lewis Hamilton in a decent package in that W13 car to usurp Max Verstappen. And whilst that's not going on, I think we're going to see Max with more than one 25-pointer, unfortunately, because I don't want to see a dominant. I don't want to see one man run away with it, Nyasha. That's that won't turn off my screen, And I fear that was what we're going to see in Max Verstappen over the next 4 or 5 races.
I think until there's some updates, I know, like you say, Ferrari I said they've been cautious on the engine, so they're gonna turn that shit up. Mercedes, I know that there are small upgrades coming, but the main thing is coming in Spain.
Started, Nyasha.
Yeah, we'll see. I got the same feeling watching Max in Imola last weekend as I did in the Austria doubleheader last season, and
levels.
Yeah, and I was like, no, this car is very good. This driver's very good. I couldn't see what would change. I was like, if it carries on like this, we're fucked. And I think in my mind, I hate saying this, but in my mind, I started to think about, wow, like, he's going to have 2 world championships and he shouldn't have one. But he's going to have 2. If something, I just can't see it in Charles right now. And you know what? I love Charles. And at the beginning of the season, I was like, you know what? I'll run it back. I chat a lot of shit. And I said, Max is so clear of, Charles is so clear of Max. And I said, it's hilarious, because Charles seemed to have Max kind of figured out. But I think once they figured out the whole DRS palaver, I think, Max in the sprint race timed his stuff to perfection, and in the main race he really was in a league of his own, wasn't he? So
he's not bad, Nyasha, and more to the point, anyone so highly do we all rate Sir Lewis Hamilton, 7-time, the best of them that I have ever seen, even on the anniversary of Senna's death on the 1st of May. Anybody that can sit in those flames and withstand Lewis Hamilton over the course of a season, you've got to put them. I feel like it's Mount Rushmore of F1 in the end. That's a bit premature, but that performance, them again, Abu Dhabi apart, that performance that Max put in last year, I feel like 10 years' time, we'll all look back in it and say, mate. Similar to Nico's 2016 championship. That's
Yeah, I
very
think
well.
Nico's has aged well. I think we'll look back on it as a season, like he matured, right?
Nailed it,
I
bro.
think there was, look, you know, I know that a lot of our listeners are coming like, "What the fuck are we talking about this?" But like,
Which is fair.
and that's fair. I guess all I'd say is I got no problems with saying Max is a good driver, right? And the issue was that he was allowed to get away with too much last season. And if you're look, if I can get away with some stuff, I'm going to get away with some stuff. Okay, like, do you know what I mean? If
Don't hate the
I
player.
don't,
Hate
do you know
the
what I mean?
game.
Like, I'm not going to give any examples on it because they're incriminating. But if I, in so many ways, but if I am allowed to get away with something, I'm going to do it. And I think if someone doesn't tell me to stop, I'm not going to stop doing it. Max wasn't going to stop doing what he was doing unless someone stepped in and said stop it. Unless you're going to lose points, you're going to be told off for it, and he didn't get that, so he carried on. And that's on him. This season they've changed the rules of engagement. He's done a lot better with Charles, right? We've not seen the dive bomb himself. I don't think he's had to. He's got a much faster car.
Not yet, exactly.
Not yet. So we will see. But I rate Max as a driver. I don't like him as a person. His dad can suck out, by the way. just fucking, you can have that. Yeah. Also, one before we go, one big, massive suck out to Helmut Marko. I hope you're listening. I honestly, I just want you to know that the prayers I had for Max's downfall are now transferred. And you saw what happened to your car when I prayed to that downfall. So, fucking prick.
Oh,
anyway,
mate, he's an absolute jerk.
He's
Isn't he?
just such a wind-up merchant.
All of the Red Bull bots
They
aren't
are.
particularly nice guys. And I would say just to draw it back to Max very quickly, the one thing
Yeah.
that your listeners will be dying for us to say that we haven't said is the evolution of Max in the cockpit is one thing that you can't debate, but the evolution of the person is something that's still, the jury is still out on that. And it would make me very happy to see Max just come out and say a couple of lines as an example. Listen, Abu Dhabi went down. It wasn't the best. I didn't intend to win the championship like that. I apologize. A bit of contrition would be nice, a bit of sports etiquette. And that's what, for me, even as racing focused as I am, I haven't seen the evolution of Max Verstappen. But hey,
Look,
we can't all be Lewis Hamilton.
We can't. No, we can't have everything, can we?
But
okay,
Helmut
look.
Marko is a dick.
Yeah.
An absolute jerk off. But okay.
I'm glad. And you know what? That's a great place to end it. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for dealing with all my technical issues.
Don't be daft. I enjoyed it. Big one.
Where can people find you on social media?
At Cameron F1 YT on YouTube and Cameron F1 on YouTube. Just talking all kind of analytical nonsense and everything F1 concerned.
Guys, let's support good black content creators. Okay, people putting in work. These videos are detailed. They're incredibly knowledgeable. I know the amount of work that goes into those videos, and I know how long it takes. And honestly, like, you deserve a massive platform, and I think you are a shining example in the F1 community for sure.
So, appreciate that, just trying to stay in your slipstream. You're in Tandy's.
Well, look, I'm just trying to be like you, big man. So look, guys, go follow him. Make sure you follow us. Subscribe to the channel. One day, I am going, you know what? I'm going to film an absolute separate thing telling you guys to subscribe, like the video, rate us, all of them things there. But if you're at this point in the video, I'm sure it's already there. Thank you so much. I will see you after. Actually, there might be a pre-show for the Miami Grand Prix, which I'm really looking forward to, as you've just heard. Have a lovely evening or morning, whenever you're listening to this. Goodbye. Toodle pip. Goodbye.